Joining me today in this Leadership Masterclass presented by FanCode, I have with me a dashing personality and a celebrated Indian cricketer. His contribution to the game has been legendary, both on and off the field, as player, coach and commentator. He is here to throw a spotlight on the dynamic role of a leader, especially when a team is faced with challenges. Please welcome the man himself, the legendary Ravi Shastri.
Nice meeting you, Mandira. Nice.
Always nice meeting you. And to kickstart the discussion today, let's talk about the first C, coaching for tomorrow. How do you as leaders today coach, build and produce leaders of tomorrow? Joining us for this conversation is Mayank Kumar, the co-founder at UpGrad.
Hi.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi Mayank,
Hi.
welcome. Please take your seats. Ravi, how would you coach a future leader in this rapidly, changing world, which is filled with so many unanticipated obstacles and challenges?
I think the most important thing would be to make that young kid or a future leader to get the basics right when it comes to work ethics, and to get that discipline and training right where he's taught at a very young age that there's no shortcut to success, so that he understands the ground rules, and if he pays attention to detail and focuses on it, it will stand him in good stead, when he starts raising the bar and bridging the gap in getting to the top.
Well, how do you go about, you spot young talent and you see, you can see a future leader in a young player, for example. How do you go about grooming him while there's already another captain who's already leading, heading the
In fact, very easy. I love to see people like that, to identify talent from a distance early and then getting him and understanding his mindset, whether he's focused, whether his ground rules are right or not, and then taking him through the paces, because competition gets the best out of you. You've got to teach him to embrace competition, but in the face of competition, treat it as a challenge.
Coming to you, Mayank, what are the key strategies of leadership when it comes to, building up leaders for tomorrow? In front of you, there's so many teams who are doing so many different things, and how do you sort of firstly identify this one's, got the potential to be a good leader, and then how do you go about sort of?
There's always a method to the madness, and you can't go beyond process in itself. So I think the process over grooming a leader is absolutely important, but there are a couple of things that we do when we are, from running an organization, the things that we see. The first one is, how do you connect the role of that individual or that leader to the overall vision of the company? If everybody is very clear that if this is where the organization has to go, this is my role and this is how it's adding up to the overall journey of the organization itself. Beyond that, you do need to give them the chance to fail, because if you're getting a leader, if you put a very strict guidelines that for 10 things that you do, 10 have to be a success, then you're not actually grooming a leader. You have to give them space that, look, you can fail 2 times, 3 times, 7 times if that's what's required. And the final thing for us as to groom a right leader, we always say it's perhaps similar to cricket itself, that you have to become redundant in the organization. And the only way you get redundant is if you make your reporting guys take up more and more what you have been doing. And if you
As a leader, you've got to
leader,
become redundant. Wow,
and
that's
if you
a
get
beautiful point.
redundant, you get your boss redundant, and then the organization moves forward, because at the end of the day, as founder, as running the company, the best thing that you can do is not do anything. And the only way it can happen is if your teams make you redundant, so that you can look for the future growth areas and take the organization to the next level.
Great point
That
that
is
comes out.
such a beautiful point.
Yeah, great
Yes.
point that comes out from there, Mandira, is you don't preempt mistakes. Let
make the mistakes.
Let the person make the mistakes. Only then will you learn. Sometimes people are so scared of failing that, and especially when they're coaching or they're looking for someone to grow, that they, tell him, be careful, this might happen. Let the bugger find out what happens.
Of course, there's more to be learned from failure than there is from success. Success is great. Success gives you the momentum. It gives you the confidence. And we're going to talk about that later. But how do you prepare a leader for failure? Is it that they just have to learn on the job? Is it that they have to just fail, like we're just saying? Or is there some way that not preempt mistakes, but just prepare them for a worst case scenario? Because as leaders, they have to take responsibility and ownership.
There are two things that at least I have seen personally working for me. One very clearly is you have to act as a coach, and I'm using the word coach from that context. And sometimes we realize, or everybody feels that the job of a coach is to give you answers. But the job of a great coach is to just ask the right question to that individual, because he or she has to figure out themselves what they need to do to succeed in the journey. And the second one I personally feel, which is equally important beyond everything, is just to telling them how to learn to unlearn. In that ecosystem, every time we believe that, okay, I have done this, I know it, but sometimes you just have to unlearn what you have done.
Now, when you look at qualities of a leader, very often, there's this wanting to advance their career, to be a risk taker, people who are ambitious. Does that make or break a leader? This question is to both of you. You know, someone who's incredibly aggressive and a risk taker and ambitious, does that make a good leader? Does that not make a good leader?
I think everything you said there, a little bit of everything will make the ideal leader. You know, you can't have one of, just aggression. With that, you got to have a very calm mind and the ability to being composed in extreme circumstances. When the pressure, the heat is on, the calmest and the most composed win.
So for all of those three things, there's also got to be the antidote, the balancing factor.
Absolutely, because what is a Zen master? It means it's the clearest mindset, the ability to stay calm, to have your thought process very clear and focused. That's when you are at your most focused. So you need all these qualities, and you grow with experience.
Clarity is a very important. What would you say you'd look for when you're coaching, a new leader or coaching somebody to lead a team? Clarity is one very important factor, but how important is risk taking and aggression, factors like that?
As they say, the biggest risk is not to take any risk.
That's I think that's especially in business.
Especially in business, I think you have to challenge the status quo.
Yes.
You have to come back with a new way of looking at things. If I could do this, many a times people ask that question: what if I fail while doing this? I think the right question to ask many times is, what if I succeed? And that's where the lot of risk-taking abilities is what at least I look for is that leader going to challenge the status quo, or are they going to run the same run-of-the-mill approach? And sometimes looking for that along with aggression gives you a very different sort of leadership quality. While we are doing this, that empathy and ability to connect to the person, that you can't be aggressive at a point of time where you just brush off the other individual completely on the wrong way, because you have to take the full team along with you. But I guess the balance is the best sort of approach. But if you don't take risk, if you're not aggressive about taking certain calls, it's your business.
Life is about balance, isn't it? Yeah. Not just
when it's even Steven.
Yeah.
India, Australia, even Steven, and the aggression, that hunger, that drive.
Horses for courses, as they say.
Look them in the eye.
Yes.
That makes you just the winner.
Yes. I mean, how have you seen leadership, the new age leadership, evolve over the years?
I think with exposure, with the amount of, the sport you get to see on television. I'm talking from sporting point of view. When we grew up, it would be the Olympic Games, maybe a soccer World Cup, and cricket, and hockey. But now you not only get, and that's when India is playing, or it's a big event. Now you get every country, when they're playing, you get to see it on a television. So your ability to evolve is a lot quicker than in our times, because your ability to see yourself the very evening after the game is over.
Technology as well.
Yeah, technology. You failed, you got out for 0. You go 1 hour's time, you're seeing it live in your hotel room. So sometimes you can be the best coach for yourself.
And finally, Mayank, with you, if I was to ask you for like 3-4 steps on how to groom a new leader, 1, 2, 3, 4, how would you go about doing it?
I wish I had the answer. I would have just, I would be doing very different things all together right now. But I mean, to grooming a leader, I guess the first thing for me very clearly is to put them into uncomfortable situations that you said when your back is against the wall.
Do you put them into uncomfortable situations, or does Or does work put them in uncomfortable situations? Or are you expecting them to be in uncomfortable situations?
Actually, what happens most of the time, Mandira, is that whenever they're taking a decision, they always take the easy way out.
Right.
And that's where, as a leader or as a coach, my job is only to push them that, look, if you take this, you know what the outcome is going to be.
Sure.
But how do I put you in an uncomfortable situation that if you don't want to decide the hard calls, let me take the hard calls for you.
Right.
I think doing that, plus sort of many a times as leaders, we try to take out all the negatives, say, okay, you have this weakness, please take this out. You have this weakness, please take this out. I've realized that just honing on your strengths and forgetting about the weaknesses, because you will never become a great business person or a leader if you do not have ABC weaknesses. You will always become a best that you are there because you're very good at what you do. Bringing the sense of inquisitiveness in the minds of individuals, because one thing that I completely relate to is today day and age, you are connected to everybody, like in sport, in business. You know what somebody is doing in the valley, what somebody is doing in China, what somebody is doing in London. And you can be the top 1% in the world, not in India, not in the region where you are in, but in the world, because you are so connected, you have access to all the information. You do not have a reason why you should be beyond the top 1% in anything that you're doing today.
Well, thank you. I have to say that, after speaking to the both of you, I'm ready to lead a team. I'm ready to coach, the future leader as well. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.